What's up, everyone? Welcome to another week of What You're Missing. It's going to be a short episode with the news. I go through various gaming news websites and I look at for different articles. This week I thought I'd spend a large bulk of my time on Kotaku, and I didn't find, um, there were a shit ton of articles, but none of them really jumped out at me, or not none, obviously, because I've got things to talk to you about today, but not as many of them as I've found, say, on Polygon or some of the other sites that I look at. So I've got two or three that jumped out at me. I'm going to talk to you about those at length. And yeah, so just to start with, there, I saw a couple articles over the week about how GameStop is overhauling the trade-in values to give more money back for trade-ins. Now, I started to read, and I was I have an opinion, a very strong opinion, shall we say, on GameStop and trade-ins. I don't personally partake in them. I think that they are sort of clinging to an antiquated business model that is very swiftly going the way of beta. And I know that they've got some attempt to do and dabble in digital distribution and the digital, providing us with games digitally, but I don't know. Their whole business model is really tied to this whole trade-in game market. So to see them, I mean, it's like watching AOL raise the price of their dial-up to $30 a month from 10, because you know that there are people who absolutely have to use AOL's dial-up for their internet, and like they're so beholden to AOL that AOL could pretty much charge anything they wanted. This is the whole idea of elasticity of demand, and that no matter what the price, the demand remains the same. Anyway, I think that we may be facing something like this with GameStop, where there are certain people, certain people that I may be friends with, who very strongly prefer disc games, and very strongly, and possibly, now I don't think my friend is a part of this, but very strongly use their trade-in program to sort of facilitate their consumption of games, right? So they'll get a game, they'll play it, they'll beat it in the first week or two, they'll trade it in for a significant amount of their money back, and then they can sort of use their money much more productively that way. I am not one of those people. Video games for me are like books in that uh, I don't think I've ever thrown away a book, and I can't even wrap my mind around doing that. And video games are like that. I just, once I've bought them, even if I've beat them and played them, even if I didn't like them, I still have them. I have a lot of games I've never even played that I just wanted to own. Don't ask me why. I guess at some point I felt like I may want to play it, so I don't know. Same thing with movies, which you can see on the back shelf there. I buy these movies because I think that I may want to watch them more than once, and they sort of end up paying for themselves. And for the most part, they do. But there are a few movies that are great movies that I haven't watched. I don't think I've even unwrapped them. But the idea that I may want to watch them in the future, I don't know. It's just weird psychology. Anyway, GameStop is changing things. The more I read into the article, the more I realized I didn't care, because I don't do any of the trade-in stuff. So you tell me, how do you consume your games? Do you ever trade in games for things? And I apologize, I left this sliding door open because it's hot, and there are birds that are going to be talking throughout this. So bear with the birds, and with me, I guess. Next up, this jumped out at me because, well, it was very apropos. I've been playing King's Quest 1, and I've been sort of downloading and installing all of the old Sierra games that I used to play. King's Quest, Quest for Glory, Space Quest. I love those games. I actually was talking, I had a game night on Saturday night with my sister and her family, and we got to talking about, because I'd played through King's Quest 1, I started asking her questions about various parts that I got stuck on, and that there was no way I could have gotten through without a walkthrough. And it turns out that when we were kids, we had to get hint guides. There were like little books that you could get that told you kind of how to do some of these things. We used them very sparingly, if I recall, because clearly I didn't even remember that we had them. But anyway, so I digress. There was a video that was released showing the mountain, the logo mountain for Sierra that was rendered in full 3D and everything, and somebody is walking towards it. You should go check it out. It's, you know, maybe 30 seconds. I'm not going to post a link because it's pretty ubiquitous. But it turns out that Activision is reusing the label, or they're like sort of giving a rebirth to the Sierra label, and there's going to be an announcement at Gamescom. So I'm really looking forward to see what they're doing. Part of me, I saw some comment on Kotaku that somebody was saying that his heart really cries out for another Quest for Glory game or a remake, but he really doesn't want to see a rehashing of King's Quest or Space Quest. Personally, I'm really wary about any of those games being remade because I love them in their current state, even though they irritate the hell out of me sometimes. But that as they are is just, I don't know, it's my childhood tied up in that. So it's hard to see that remade or redone, or it might, like a sequel might be cool. I don't know how modern day game mechanics could apply to a game like that. So we'll see. But I'm really anxious and I'm looking forward to it. You should be too. Follow along because I will definitely keep you apprised of what happens. Gamescom is coming up in the next week or two, I think. So we shouldn't have to wait long. Next up and last on my list of news that jumped out at me, and I'm going to go off on this a little bit, so I apologize, but Twitch, as I've been doing a bunch of streaming, first off, one announcement I've got is I'm going to try to do more streaming on a regular basis, which is to say that there will be scheduled times where I'm streaming throughout the week. So if you enjoy watching me play or listening to me talk while I play, there are going to be set times throughout the week that you can tune in and watch that and participate with me. I played a bunch of games Friday night. I was playing Don't Starve, and what I ended up doing, because the whole chat mechanism in the PS4 is terrible, I was streaming and I had open the Twitch video on my tablet so I could sort of chat and participate in what was going on there, and people were asking me questions, and I got a few viewers. It was really cool. So yeah, once I get the schedule worked out, I'll let you know, and I'll post it on the blog, I think probably Monday or Tuesday. I would guess Tuesday because I got a barbecue later and I'm trying to get this done. Anyway, so you'll know when it's happening, and then there'll be some impromptu stuff as throughout the week because, you know, I don't have a job yet, so I've got a lot of time and I might as well stream. So that's where it's at. Now anyway, so speaking of Twitch, last week, or I guess weeks or months ago, they were purchased by Google, who owns YouTube. And I've posted some things to YouTube, and I've sort of in my own personal world raged against how this happens. So let me explain it to you. So what's going on with Twitch is that the same rules that apply to YouTube are now being applied to Twitch. There are two changes that were made that I think are sort of the most noteworthy. And the biggest is this idea that they scan your videos for copyrighted music and then will mute whole sections of your stream if it contains copyrighted music in it. So how this takes shape is it doesn't apply to any of your live streams, but once you're done streaming live, for the most part, people's streams are recorded and you can go back and watch them. There's like an archive. So part of the change, and I think the less impactful change, is that your archives are not immortal anymore. There's a 2-week window, and I think you may be able to flag some videos to be held indefinitely, but the default and sort of what they're pushing for is that you have 2 weeks to have your archive be available, and then after that, the recording sort of falls off and disappears in no man's land. So that's bad, but it's not like game-changing bad. What is game-changing bad is it scans 30-minute segments of your video. If it detects any copyrighted music in it, it will mute that entire 30-minute segment, right? So if you have 10 seconds of Gangsta's Paradise while you drive down the road in Watch Dogs or GTA or any of these other games, the whole 30-minute segment of your video will be completely muted. So I listed off a couple games but there are whole genres of games that have music in the game that will trigger this flag so that the entire game basically is going to be completely muted in your recordings. Really stupid. I mean, like, colossally stupid, especially for Twitch. YouTube, like, I was really upset when I had videos, granted they were video game videos, but when I had videos that were muted, because not only is it muted actually, on YouTube it's muted and you're denied the opportunity to monetize them, which is to have like little ads or whatever, right? And so I raged against that on my own in the privacy of my home, and I didn't embarrass myself publicly too much. I probably ranted about it a bit on Twitter, but you know, I put that to bed. But Twitch, their entire business model is based on streaming games. And whether the game itself, like, the biggest problem is the fact that a lot of these games have their own music that is copyrighted music, right? Maybe they're borrowing Christina Aguilera or anything else, right? That is inside the game, which you paid for, right? You buy the game has already paid the artist for using that music in their fucking game, and then YouTube and Twitch have decided that if that stream comes across their whatever, their censors, then it gets muted. And this is probably through some agreement legally with the MPAA or any of the recording legal powerhouses or whatever, as you've seen, that the idea, and I assume that the reasoning behind it, is that there's a sale lost because someone will come and play your video to listen to that music and therefore not buy the actual music itself. So to the music industry or anyone in the industry who's behind this and who has argued for this and gotten this implemented, fuck you. To Twitch and YouTube, pull your heads out of your collective asses. I mean, Jesus. Like, how stupid do you have to be to have your entire business wrapped around streaming something, and you're going to cut out the audio of it because it has some form of music in it. And that also cuts out people who apply music to their streams of their own that they've paid for because it amps them up. Like, I couldn't listen to music while I play games because it would be picked up through the microphone and then make itself a part of the stream. The stream would be flagged and there would be no sound whatsoever. You wouldn't hear me talking, you wouldn't hear the sound from the game, you wouldn't hear any of the music, nothing. So this is such a clusterfuck, it's offensive. So, that said, I'm not the only one who's irritated by this or angered by it, and the internet is somewhat up in arms. Twitch realized that they made a mistake, although I don't think they've realized just how big of a mistake they made. They've come out and they've said that they've got a couple weeks to make changes to what they were planning to implement, but that by making these original changes, which is the whole, you know, copyright music and the not holding on to recordings for an indefinite period of time and all of the other things that were in that bunch of updates, that something big is coming. Well, I hope it is so colossally big that it makes up for fucking over your entire company. So we'll see what happens there. They vowed to make some changes. The things that they talked about that they were going to change didn't even come close to addressing the things that are the real problem. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm agitated. I apologize, but there you have it. So last week was a little slow. That's all I've got for the news. If you want, I'm actually curious. So if you do go and watch videos on Twitch, what do you watch for? Are you going to watch the game? Are you going to watch the person playing the game? Do you want to hear them talk? Because when I go to watch, I assume that I'm going to be hearing them. I'm going to see a little video of the person in the corner. I'm going to hear their take on the game. Maybe that's the entire reason why I'm watching, is their reaction to what's going on in the game, right? So these old school King's Quest games that I was playing, the game itself is like this little dude very slowly walking across the screen. And while that's entertaining and seeing 8-bit graphics is like, yay, after a few seconds, you're like, okay, that dude is walking really slow. I'm kind of bored. But hopefully what keeps you engaged is seeing me either look bored or talk to you about what's going on and sort of the history of all of that. So what do you look for when you watch a Twitch stream or a game stream? Are you looking for, you know, I like during the Don't Starve stream, somebody told me that they were kind of tuning in to get tips and tricks and to sort of figure out how to be better at the game, and so they were going and watching videos of people playing. And so we talked a little bit, and I explained through text anyway what was going on. But during one of my previous streams, somebody told me to just straight mute my microphone because the game's sound was so great. This is also for Don't Starve. I don't agree that the sounds from that game are great. They're repetitive and they get old quickly. But because he asked, I muted the microphone and I just stopped talking. But I want to make sure that me talking isn't ruining the stream for the majority of people who might come and watch. Or by me shutting up, am I ruining it? So anyway, so I'm curious. Answer me in the description, email me, tweet at me, I don't care. But yeah, so thanks for tuning in. Go subscribe if you haven't. Tell your friends, and tell your friends to subscribe, because that's how this is going to get better. Right. So that's all I got. Tune in tomorrow for the games that I've played. There's a list of, it looks like 6 different games that I played last week, which is a lot better than the usual WildStar +1. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.